All right, guys. We are actually currently unlisted. I'm just going to check quickly to see if the audio is working. Give me one sec, and I'll switch this to public. Guys, well, the audio is definitely working. All right. Oops. I hope everybody is doing well. It is the typical 1 a.m. live stream. All right. Let's wait to see who joins. Welcome. Let's chat about Freemasonry. Any thoughts you have on Freemasonry? Positive, negative, or neutral? It's funny because these streams usually, what I find is the 1 a.m. streams actually do a lot better than the 1 p.m. streams. I'm not sure why. Apparently my audience is like me, a bunch of night owls. Let's give it a few minutes. Let's wait to see who joins. Please take a moment, hit that like and subscribe button, and I'm grateful for everybody who will be joining. Any thoughts you have on Freemasonry? Again, positive, negative, or neutral. If you are a Mason, I'd love to know more about your experiences. If you're not, if you have questions, let me know that as well. I have been a Mason since 2007, which is crazy to think. So basically, almost 20 years. I don't know everything, but I can at least give you my opinions and my thoughts on Freemasonry. So let's give it a couple minutes and let's see who joins. Please, as always, take a moment and like and subscribe. By the way, I'm going to be going to Tilbury tomorrow, which if you don't know, small town Ontario. Very close to Chatham, actually. However, it is still part of this district. So when I say this, I mean Essex County District. All right, let's give it a couple and let's see who joins. When I hit, by the way, the 21st, mark in your calendars, my next 24-hour live stream, we're actually going to be talking about, amongst other things, or actually the big thing about that one is I'm going to be trying two different formats at the same time if possible. I'm going to try to stream on both Twitch and YouTube at the same time because I'm curious to see how that will work. If that will maybe get me some more people on some different venues, checking out cross promotion, all those words, all those buzzwords. But I'm curious to see how that goes. All right, let's give it a few more minutes. Hit like, hit subscribe. Thank you for being here. Let me know if you have any thoughts on Freemasonry. Again, positive, negative, or neutral. I'd love to hear them. And if you want to help out the channel with the super chat as we, as we work on promoting the ways Freemasonry was and is relevant to the communities in which it is located. And by the way, thank you to everybody who has been kind enough thus far to support the channel. We've been growing every day, so it's greatly appreciated. Good evening, 45. Thank you for being here. Well, Mike, I can't help you with that. Other than to say I appreciate everybody who supports me and watches me. However, that should not come at the cost of one's personal relationships. Thank you for being here. I hope you guys will take a moment to like and subscribe. And again, any thoughts on Freemasonry, positive, negative, or neutral? I'd love to hear them. Hello, Linking Atlas. Welcome back. Thank you for being here. Everything is going very well. Today, I talked about Freemasonry in Iran. Fascinating history. I posted some information about that on the channel, including some poll questions. So let's see if you guys can answer those. And how you will answer those. See if you get it right. And even if you get it wrong, the cool thing is it'll still show you the right answer so you can at least learn something. Well, I mean, I have no opinion about Iran presently, but I did provide information about the history of Freemasonry in Iran. Obviously, it has been outlawed in Iran since 1979, since the revolution. But before then, it's a fascinating history, and I was happy to share it. Um, and you can find out some information if you go to my community section. So, yeah, that would be my thoughts on Iran. I mean, sometimes that's the way it works, sometimes it doesn't. The question as to should Iran or should, America be involved in other countries, that's a political question. That is one of those things where everybody has to every Freemason will have his own opinion on that based on his own political beliefs. So Freemasons worship Lucifer. Freemasons do not worship Lucifer. Alex Penitents. Freemasons do not worship any particular being. Freemasonry is not a religion. It's not about worshiping any deity. Every Freemason will have his own personal, let's say, supreme being, great architect, pick your term, based on his own beliefs and cultures. Caleb, this is everyone's planet. It does not belong to any particular person, group, or country. It's about religious, political, national, international tolerance, in my oh so humble opinion. Alex, please hit like and subscribe. Caleb, please hit like and subscribe as well. Thank you both for joining. I do these streams Mondays through Fridays, 1 p.m., 1 a.m., and then I post videos, clips, etc., etc. I also have written content about Freemasonry as well, which I hope you'll check out. Let's give it a bit of time to see who joins. BBNJJJ. I talk about Freemasonry. I mean, I have other channels where I talk about other interests I have, but primarily Monday through Friday, 1 p.m. and 1 a.m., I talk about Freemasonry, which I love to do. I talk about the ways it was and is, or promote the ways it was and is relevant to the communities in which it was located. I also talk about stories that may be of Masonic interest. So, yeah, Freemasonry. So BBNJJJ, please hit like, please hit subscribe. Well, neither. I don't talk about conspiracy stuff. I mean, I talk about it if I'm asked about it to debunk it. Nor do I talk about working with stone or rocks, because Freemasonry is evolved from stonemasonry, but it's not actually a profession. It's a social club or civic group. But I do talk about the origins of Freemasonry, which was working with rocks. I still have them, Dylan. I'm on here practicing and trying to make them real. Charlie Kirk, to my knowledge, was not a Freemason. Charlie Kirk, I've never seen any evidence that he was. I'm pretty sure they got the guy who killed him. I'm pretty sure he's currently in custody. Hello from Nigeria. Thank you for being here. Please take a moment from Nigeria to hit like and subscribe. Check if I'm zesty, you can hit like and subscribe. I believe in a supreme being, Muhammad, not necessarily God in a religious sense. It really depends on how you would define God. But I believe in a supreme being, as all Masons must. Freemasons are trending older, but that's just because our numbers are dropping. Historically, it's been all ages who have been Freemasons. I do not know who that was, Matt C. It's been a while since I've seen that movie, although I do like Batman. Batman, by the way, is a Freemason, according to the comic books. 33, everybody thinks that's the most important number in Freemasonry, but it's not. The highest degree in Freemasonry is the 3rd degree, the Master Mason degree. Fair enough, Mohammed, but that shouldn't stop you from hitting the like and subscribe button. And I don't disagree with you. I've always described my supreme being as being the rational nature of the universe, or rational order of the universe as understood through the application of geometry and science. I mean, that's fair. Look, you need to believe in a supreme being to be a Freemason, for example, but the nature of that supreme being is left very vague. And certainly, believing in one without properly being able to describe it is perfectly reasonable. That's kind of the way I am as well with my belief in a supreme being. Um, the highest degree within Freemasonry drill is the third degree. If you want to, if you want to become a Freemason, um, and you want to get the third degree, the way you do so is by first applying or first approaching the lodge and asking to join, asking to learn more about it, going through the application process. Then you advance in the degrees. But you should never join Freemasonry with the goal to get quote unquote the highest degree or the most power or anything like that. That's not what Freemasonry is about. It went well, Dream Seeker. It went very well. Got a fair bit accomplished. I got more to accomplish tomorrow, but it was productive. So I'll be back, by the way, at the coffee club, I think, on Wednesday morning. Goon underscore, I would not say Donald Trump is a supreme being. He is a human being. You can view whatever you want. Oh, well, there you go. They may be right. I don't know much. I don't know what he would mean that we may be right about, because Freemasonry is not really it doesn't really have like statements you can point to as being right or wrong. I mean, generally it does. I suppose it has philosophical ideas and it can illuminate ways to live better within the world and the community through the practice of virtues like temperance, fortitude. I don't know what he would mean, though, by they may be right. I need to know more about what he meant by that. Kelly watches stuff. What do you watch, Kelly? Do you do like movie reviews, TV reviews? I'm assuming with your name, your channel is like movie reviews or television reviews. Anyways, Freemasonry is a civic or community organization and group. It's basically a club, a social club that evolved from stonemasonry guilds in the Middle Ages. The majority of it is fraternal, so men exclusive. However, there is within Freemasonry the Order of Women Freemasons as well as Eastern Star, which is for men and women. I'm definitely keeping busy. It depends, Will Vincent, if they're not paying their dues to the lodge. Sometimes the lodge, if it has a capacity, will just forgive the dues for the year or cover it themselves. Offer a payment plan, make it work. In some cases, it may be a case that the lodge, suspends them for non-payment, but the lodge will try its best usually to avoid that. Yes, I got a big nose and goofy teeth, but you should still hit like and subscribe. Connor McConville, I'm not a huge fan of Donald Trump myself, but again, those are political questions. A lot of Freemasons have a lot of different views on Donald Trump. What I'm supposed to be is a YouTuber, so hit the like and subscribe and help a brother out. I mean, I have no issue with the Quran. I know a lot of Muslim Freemasons. Freemasons from the Islamic faith, great brothers, great friends, great part of the craft. Hello, Mr. 7777. I hope you're doing well. Thank you for being here. Let's give it a bit of time. Let's see who else joins. All right, Goon, let's just put you in a bit of a timeout. You need to calm down. You don't seem like a Freemason, Father D. Thomas. Usually a Freemason, for example, would not be making fun of somebody's physical appearance. And Freemasons are not the new nor old Jewish. Freemasonry is not a religion nor ethnicity. We have many Jewish Masons, and they're wonderful parts of the craft. I'm actually part of a Masonic lodge in Israel. But it doesn't, Freemasonry has members of all different races, religions, ethnicities, backgrounds, languages from all around the world. So Richard Wilkins, Freemasonry is decentralized. What that means is, um, um, oh, I mean, in some ways, you might be right, Alex, in that, yeah, a lot of times Freemasons get blamed for things or get looked down upon by society in the same way Jewish people did throughout history. That's not always wrong. Certainly, it can be the case that Freemasons find themselves on, attacked by conspiracy theories in the same, for the World War II, for example, Hitler linked Freemasonry and Judaism together and attacked both. Going back to the trans question, Freemasonry is decentralized. So what that means is there is no single governing body that makes decisions globally. So, for example, in England, the policy is if you are, let's say, assigned female but transition to male, you can join the Masonic Lodge. You join the fraternal side of the Masonic Lodge. I can say for myself personally, I would have no issue sitting in lodge with a trans member. Um, and so, but Texas has different policies. Every jurisdiction will have different policies. 13 of the founding fathers were Freemasons. So when you say 13 of the founding fathers, Zippo man, 13 of the signers of the Declaration of Independence were Freemasons. 9 to 11 of the founding fathers were Freemasons. There's different numbers. I don't know why you say unfortunately. I think in some ways maybe the Masonic ideals helped the founding fathers in the pursuit of democracy. Freemasonry is a democratic organization and tended to, especially at that time period during the Enlightenment and early 1800s, be very pro-democracy, though it's not political. And there were more non-Masons involved in, for example, the founding of America than there were Masons. Um, I've never been to Alabama, but I really want to go. I'd love to visit Alabama. No, Jody York, we are not Satanists. Freemasonry is not a religion of any type, Satanist or otherwise. It is a community group or communal group. Um, so, Will, you're absolutely correct. And honestly, I have no idea why. For whatever reason, Freemasonry is incredibly popular within both the Philippines itself and the Filipino communities actually around the world. Many lodges have significant Filipino populations. Why that is, I have no idea. I'd be curious to try to learn or know more about it. Part of it is historically one of their founders and kind of considered a hero in the Philippines. Jose Rizal was a Freemason. There's some Spanish influence there as well. Freemasonry did grow in Spain. It started in England, but it grew in Europe, including Spain. But honestly, like George Washington was a Freemason. It hasn't resulted in growing numbers of American Freemasons in the last 30 or 40 years. I'm not sure why it is, but you're not wrong. Freemasonry in the Philippines and within Filipino communities is very prominent and very prevalent, which I think is awesome. So there is no difference between Masons and Freemasons in the sense of I will use those terms interchangeably. Sometimes I will use the term Masons, sometimes I use the term Freemason to describe myself. But technically, you could argue that Masons refer to stonemasons. That is a profession, men who build things out of stone, or women for that matter, I should say, people who build things out of stone. Whereas Freemasons is the civic club or social group, but these numbers these names and these terms very often tend to get used interchangeably. So sometimes I'll describe myself as a Mason, sometimes a Freemason. Um, they did, yeah, oh no, I mean, Jose Rizal again, and MacArthur. I didn't know about MacArthur, but that's really cool. That's a really, really cool thing to learn. Thank you, 45 Shutter. I did not know that. So we do private meetings, Young, not secret meetings. They're private because, well, I'm doing that right now. They're not secret because you can go onto a website and you can actually get a list of all the Masonic meetings that are happening in your area very often. Like if you're in Michigan, there's a website, Grand Lodge of Michigan. It lists every meeting that's taking place. and where it's taking place. So they're not secret because you know where and when they're taking place, but they're private in that they're exclusive for members. Um, well, I'm doing it, so whatever you think, Jimmy Dean. Um, well, Baphomet is not part of Freemasonry, despite what people think. EWG. We got hundreds. We got some hearts. It might be Smokey the Clown. And this is not very dangerous, Jimmy. Someone's been looking at too many conspiracy theory videos. Hello from Seattle. A good friend of mine who's been on the channel a couple times, most worshipful brother Cameron Bailey. He is actually out of Seattle, Washington. He's a really cool dude. I really enjoy spending meeting with him. He's been awesome. I don't know his name. I think I used to know the name to which you're referring. He's full of nonsense. You want to be careful about stuff like that. So there's a couple different possibilities. The upside down star you're referring to comes from the Eastern Star, which is actually it was not part of Freemasonry originally. It came, I believe it was founded in 18, oh my gosh, I think 1886, but don't quote me on that. I could be getting that wrong. The reason that the Eastern Star, which is an organization for men and women within Freemasonry, first, the reason why they picked a star at all, the 5 points are meant to represent 5 women of the Bible. Ruth, Esther, I used to know the other 3 and I can't think of them now. Martha is another one, as well as 5 virtues that they represent. The reason the star points down is as a way to remind us, or remind Eastern Star, to take the heavenly virtues of the women and the virtues they represent who are in heaven and bring them to earth. Hello from St. Louis, Missouri. I've been to St. Louis. I love St. Louis. Awesome city as well. Please hit like and subscribe, by the way. I'd very much appreciate it. The channel has been growing, and that's thanks to everybody who has been part of it. So Eastern Star, let's see if I got the date right. I think it's 1888. I could be wrong. 1850. I was off by 38 years. There you go. In Mississippi, though, I knew that. It can mean a lot of different things, legend. You will never want to assume. One of the biggest mistakes you can make in life is making assumptions. That's why I appreciate Jimmy Dean asking the questions, even though my suspicion is he thinks he already knows the answers. I'm happy to at least try to answer the questions. Okay, going back to great. My grandfathers, both sides were Freemasons, and my father's a Mason as well. Don't forget, hit that like and subscribe button. I very much appreciate it. Welcome back, Jack Pleb. Quantum chance. I love quantum science. Thank you for being here. Please take a moment to the like and subscribe button. Freemasonry really is not that mysterious. Masons are not trash, Jack Pleb. I'm a Mason, and I might be trash, who knows, but Freemasonry or Freemasons are not trash. The idea of Freemasons being something mysterious, some of that is the fault of Freemasons, which unfortunately, kind of some Masons lean into this idea of Freemasonry as being mysterious to either try to big themselves up or big other people up, or big the craft up and make it seem mysterious and cool. But honestly, at the end of the day, it is a civic and community group. It's a guy's night out. It's no more mysterious than that. We have our private rituals and ceremonies, but those are really ways to form bonds of brotherhood, and they're not that different than, any other like if you have a group of guys who go out together to the bar every night and they all wear special socks or something. It's not that different than that. It's not about the secrets and mysteries. It's about the brotherhood and the growth and trying to help communities. Well, Masons do brickwork or stonework, you could say. Right? For the record, I am not Creed, but I do get a lot of the same questions, so I very often have the same answers. I'm just currently on X trying to check out what's trending, because I find that if there is something trending that pops up, it's really important that I be able to know about it so I can respond to it. help keep the channel topical as well. Um, so Masons, stonemasons, they do Masonic work, as in building things from stone. Again, there's two sides of it. Freemasonry is a civic club or a social group. Stonemasonry or stonemasons is a profession where you are building things out of stone. So there you go. Well, yes, that name Freemasons, we should have spent more money. We should be charging for our services. I don't know what those services would be since we can't build, we're not a profession, we're a civic group or civic engagement. Well, I'm not, but Freemasonry evolved from stonemasons. So yes, you could use the term bricklayers, though at the time it wasn't so much brick as stone. But you had these groups of guilds, trade unions of stonemasons, and they began to create more social events, social clubs, and invite non-masons in to join. And then Freemasonry evolved from that. Um, right? The way to think about it is you have the stonemasons first, then you have Freemasonry, which kind of evolves from that. But that doesn't mean stonemasons no longer exist. If you ever want to create, for example, a brick or stone fireplace, you're not going to go to the Freemasons. You're going to go to the stonemasons. Um, well, there are no ties to Satanism. So if that makes it seem like I'm covering it up, then so be it. Um, Despite what, for example, Albert Pike may say. Sometimes creates a whole who's on first situation. So again, Freemasonry does not worship any particular deity, object, artifact. That's not what Freemasonry is about. It's not a religion. Well, they did not do that either, no sage. I mean, who knows? Probably some Mason did that somewhere for a laugh. I have no idea. Um, but I have no idea. Hello, motivate meme. Hello, motivate me. I hope you're doing well. Thank you for being here. Please take a moment, hit that like and subscribe button. Um, so Freemasonry is not a religion, so we do not worship in that sense. Every Freemason will have his or her, but his own personal beliefs um, as to whom they worship. You could have Christian, Jewish, Muslim, Hindu, Sikh, Indigenous, Wiccan, Freemasons, but there is no, like we within Freemasonry are not taught to worship anything. That's not how it works. Freemasonry is not a religion. Um, yeah, I got a big nose, but you can still hit like and subscribe. No, we do not. Solomon is an important figure within Freemasonry, but that doesn't mean we worship him. Rather, as with many things, we will try to use Solomon as, illuminating certain lessons of that can help us kind of live our lives a certain way. But we don't do that just with Solomon, for example. It's Freemasonry borrowed from a lot of different philosophies and symbolism, Christianity, Judaism, or parallels is a better way to put it, but also Egyptian mythology, architecture, architectural schools and types of architecture, types of pillars, but primarily stone Masonic guilds, Stoic philosophy, Enlightenment philosophy, etc., etc. Oh, that's always the question, isn't it, JL? What is the degree? I'm the highest degree within Freemasonry, third degree Master Mason. I'm also 18th degree Scottish Rite. I do not know to what you are referring, Mr. Goddamn. Please hit the like and subscribe button. That's what matters. Um, that's more important than the 10th man. Right? I mean, I do think that's a good point, no sage, and that's something I always point out. Like at this point, what exactly would be the point of keeping this stuff secret? Wouldn't it be easier to just admit it if it was true to then not deal with the conspiracy theorists anymore? Um, so Scottish Rite is a reference to a appendant body within Freemasonry. So within Freemasonry, you have your first 3 degrees, which is usually called the Craft or Blue Lodge. That's the most important degrees in Freemasonry. Without those 3 degrees, Freemasonry would not exist. After that, you can join Scottish Rite or York Rite. Those are just additional groups within Freemasonry, sometimes called appendant bodies, where you can learn more about Freemasonry, engage more with the craft. So when people talk about 39, there are some rites that go that way in Europe, but it's rare. Usually the highest, quote unquote, biggest number of degrees you can get is 33. But again, that's an appendant body. The highest degree within Freemasonry is the 3rd degree. Um, it is not tied to ancestry. No worries, Captain. Freemasonry, again, we have some people who join. Um, there are some people who join Freemasonry and they have ancestral connections. Their father, grandfather, great grandfather were Freemasons. However, very often, what you find is people join Freemasonry for the first time. Um, well, even if that was true, which is not JL, but even if that was true, would it actually make a difference, right? What does a 33rd degree Mason, what power or influence do they have within Freemasonry? They're one vote in a Blue Lodge, no different than any other vote. In fact, in emulation ritual in Ontario, a entered apprentice has one vote, and so does the 33rd. And if 10 entered apprentices vote in a lodge in one direction, and 9 33rd degrees vote the opposite way, the 10 entered apprentices, their motion will win. If you were to remove the 33rd degree from Freemasonry, it would be incredibly sad. But for 99.9% of Freemasons, nothing would change because the highest degree in Freemasonry is the 3rd degree, and the highest office within Freemasonry is the worshipful master of a lodge, for which you must be a 3rd degree Mason. Oh, that's cool. No Sage Meadow. There was a good barber at the Masons Lodge. I've always thought we should have more barber shops within our lodges. There are a lot of times we have spaces available that just aren't being used. Why don't we consider within our buildings opening up barber shops or restaurants or whatever. Become more active, become more involved, offer services to the community. Obviously, charge because that's how we can, earn income for our buildings. Our Masonic buildings are not cheap, especially if they are historic or heritage. Richard, I suppose what I'd say is I believe in a supreme being. I can also believe that Jesus, as a historical figure, was incredibly wise, and his philosophy is incredibly valuable. And I think that Christianity and the Christian faith, whether it be Catholic or Protestant, or you can go through denominations, that's a whole other story, has given a lot of valuable insights to the world. It's also, religion is a double-edged sword. I don't think anybody would deny. It has also had some pretty serious drawbacks or challenges, but I also think there's a lot of value. And I would also say that about, by the way, the teachings of other religious figures based on my understanding of them. But I do know many Christian Freemasons. Again, to be a Freemason, you must believe in a supreme being. It does not have to be necessarily a particular faith. Hello, Bartholomew. Thank you for being here. Yes, I got a crazy head. Never noticed or called it a boiled egg head, but please hit like and subscribe. Well, that's fine. I have never heard of C.S. Lewis's God, Madman, or Liar argument, but I've never read C.S. Lewis except I think it was the Chronicles of Narnia. Hold on. Um, so his dedication to Lucy Barfield in The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, I think is one of the greatest dedications to a book I've ever seen or ever read in my entire life. Um, well, there's a lot of different reasons why the Catholic Church denounces us. To my knowledge, the present rule is that if you are a Freemason, you cannot take uh, what's the word? You cannot take communion in the Catholic Church. Andreas, let's just put you in timeout. The best um, the best explanation for that is the Humanum Genus, which is a work written by Pope Leo the 13th in, I believe that was 1888, actually. Basically, they had three arguments. The first is that Freemasonry was a democratic organization, and to the Catholic Church, that was in direct contradiction to the idea of the Catholic Church, which is authority is vested divinely. So there's this idea that if you are Catholic and you join a Masonic lodge and you're voting and democratically selecting your leadership and democratically selecting like the policies of the lodge, will they then want to start voting on the policies of the Catholic Church and voting on how their priests or rabbis are to act, right? Catholicism, the idea is divinity comes from a supreme, it's divinely inspired. Whereas in Freemasonry, power is vested democratically. The other concern they had is they believed that because Freemasonry did not require a specific religious belief, and you could have men of different religions, or women for that matter, but men of different religions all sitting together, it would, a Catholic would start to view other faiths as equal to his own, and they did not like that. I also truly sense that there's a little bit of jealousy amongst the Catholic Church at the time, seeing Freemasonry at the time growing and their numbers declining. Um, that is true, although what I'd say, Jimmy Dean, is the way that most Freemasons define supreme being is so broad that a lot of people who would be considered atheists probably would be able to join, depending on, again, how they explain what their beliefs are. There's a couple reasons for that, but primarily it comes from this idea of within Freemasonry, you take an oath or an obligation when you join. You take it to your supreme being as you understand it. If you're an atheist and you take the obligation, it will not be as meaningful because you're not taking it to a higher being or a higher power. It's also traditional, right? It's been that way since the Anderson Constitutions of 1723, where it said, by the way, if you ever want to read, in my opinion, the greatest statement ever as to religious freedom and tolerance, or I wouldn't say religious freedom, religious tolerance, I would say read the section from the Anderson Constitutions concerning God and religion, which lays out very well why Freemasonry does not require a specific religious belief to join, but is tolerant of different religious beliefs dependent on the custom, upbringing, and background of the membership. Um, um, Freemasonry, so the Illuminati was founded in 1777 by an ex-Freemason who borrowed a lot of Masonic kind of symbols or ideas when developing the Illuminati, but it's not connected. And as of right now, to my knowledge, it really doesn't exist anymore. Well, I mean, I believe atheists should be able to hold office. And again, what I would say is the way that like a supreme being is defined, like a lot of people would probably consider me a atheist in that I believe in a supreme being. I believe the supreme being is best understood as the rational nature of the universe as expressed through geometry and science. I think a lot of people would consider me to be in the same way as a consequence of that, an atheist. Who knows? I am a Mason, a time for judgment. It is also a time for you to hit the like and subscribe button. I've known Buddhist Freemasons, Richard. So, yeah, I've known Buddhist Freemasons. Um, I mean, I we have our own beliefs. It's no more blasphemous than going into any civic or community group where you'll have multiple people with multiple different beliefs and multiple different religious understandings. We are a civic or community group. In fact, that's why Freemasonry has always been so focused on religious tolerance. And it also goes back to their stonemason days. They were part of the community. They were trying to get work, trying to build castles, churches, mosques, cathedrals. If they were running around preaching whatever their faith is, it's not going to help them get any business, right? They had to be respectful of the religious customs, beliefs of wherever it is they happen to be working. Because they were there to build a house, not to preach whatever their religious beliefs were. And then by the same token, they may be working next to men who were Muslim, Jewish, Christian, whatever the faith may be. It does no help to them or to their craft to start judging other people based on their religious beliefs. Um, I don't think their mind generated things, no, Sage. I think they exist outside of us. Whether the mind exists or not, I think the number two as a concept exists. Um, well, I would say how it helps to hold up systems. It doesn't hold them up exclusively. It can help, it can assist. I don't think there's any question about that. But it's not the exclusive way to hold it up. It's just one of many ways through which civic institutions hold up society. I mean, when you say, so why have a club? Why not have a club? Um, Human beings are political animals. When I say political, I don't mean Republican or Democrat. I mean political in the sense that it is our nature to want to be part of something bigger than ourselves, to be part of something greater than ourselves. Well, I try not to lie. I could be wrong. XX, it's always possible, but I try to never be knowingly wrong. Um, it's like a civic club. It's a civic group. Um, Amanek. I mean, some people may take a certain spiritual comfort from it, but you could take that same spiritual comfort from doing anything you love. If you play football, you may find that a spiritual endeavor in some ways. Again, but you want to be careful in terms like spiritual because a lot of people will hear spiritual and take religious understanding from it. Again, it's not a religion. It's a civic group. It's a club. It's an organization. The extent to which being part of the civic group makes you feel better spiritually, I suppose every Mason will kind of have to determine that for himself. Music can be a spiritual, like listening to music can be spiritual for people. Um, well, I think a lot of things exist both objectively and subjectively. Um, so Freemasonry is not satanic, neither is Judaism to my knowledge, though I'm not a religious expert, but I don't believe Judaism is satanic. Freemasonry is, exists within the space of civic and community life. Judaism is, a faith to my understanding. Um, I mean, again, I'm not a biblical expert. By the way, I'm one subscriber away from 3,290. Help a brother out. My experience, that's not the case, that most rich people are Freemasons. I would say the majority of Freemasons I've met are not rich. The majority are not poor either. The majority are just middle class, I'd say. I am a third degree Master Mason, which is the highest degree within Freemasonry. I'm also 18th degree Scottish Rite. Well, I tried my best, but I'm now two subs away. Oh well, you do what you can. Um, I mean, we do not reject Jesus as God. That's not the point. Freemasonry is not a religion, so it's not about rejecting or subscribing to anyone's particular faith. Every Mason has his own faith. If you're a Mason and you accept Jesus Christ as God, more power to you. No Freemason will tell you otherwise. Um, well, if I'm a clown, so be it. But I'm still trying my best. Um, so the reason that Freemasons, again, I wouldn't use the term God, I use the term supreme being. is twofold. First, it's tradition, and Freemasons are still very much believers in tradition as a way to bind ourselves to both past, present, and future generations of Freemasons and strengthen the bonds of brotherhood. But also within Freemasonry, you do have to take an obligation when you join. If you did not believe in a supreme being of any sort, the obligation might mean less. It's why in church, it's why at court, for example, you would swear on a Bible to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. The reason you'd swear on the Bible is because if you are Christian, swearing on a Bible it'll hit your heart more. It'll affect your conscience more because you're swearing to the God that you believe. It's also why in many courts in 2025, you will have a Bible or Quran or other items of a person's faith. So they can swear on that item instead of the Bible if they are of a different faith or different belief. See through the veil. Somebody has been spending too much time with conspiracy theories. I've been a Freemason since 2007. So almost 20 years. Don't claim to know everything, but I know quite a bit, or at least I'd like to think I do. And I very much enjoy sharing what I know. We've got, let's see, we're still one subscriber away from 3,290 subs. But this has been a very fun stream. I'll keep this going for another probably 10 minutes or so. Well, I mean, esoteric by its nature means known to, a group within. Another way to turn it would be private information. However, esoteric is a very, very broad term. I mean, you need to be a bit more specific. What do you want to know about the esoteric? Honestly, although for me personally, I've never been one, again, it's a very broad statement, knowledge. I've never been one who has been particularly attracted to the esoteric side of Freemasonry. I do worry sometimes that within Freemasonry, you can contact a lodge and ask. My assumption is, when you say I love the mark of the beast and 666, I don't know if you're saying that you're a Satanist. I've never met a Satanist Freemason. The one time I spoke to a Satanist about Freemasonry, he told me he would not want to join the craft because the ideals were opposite to his. So there you go. KY Pitbull, what are you doing up this late? You should be asleep. I hope you're doing well. Thank you for being here. Well, again, if you're saying I'm the GOAT, then yes, I am the GOAT. Thank you for saying so. Me too. My audience is like me. I always get more people showing up at the 1 a.m. streams than the 1 p.m. streams. I do not know why. But hey, if you can't sleep, then I'm happy that you're here with me. I hope that you'll consider checking out some other streams. Going to be finishing this one at 2 a.m. So 2 a.m. Eastern. So another 10 minutes or so. We do not worship a goat. That's one of those myths. It started from a couple of jokes, but another term for supreme being is God of all things, which was in some Masonic documents shortened to capital G, capital O, capital A, capital T. Hence the term goat came up, or the idea of Freemasons worshiping a goat as a consequence of that. Richard, I can smell if you've hit the like and subscribe button or not. I mean, do I go to do you mean Masonic fundraisers? I mean, I go to a fair number. Usually, I find in the summer especially, and then again close to Christmas, Masons will engage in different fundraisers, different, they'll pick a charity and they'll do a fundraiser to support it. They'll have a special dinner, whatever it might be. So, yeah, I guess I go to a fair numbers. But the question they would ask you is from where does your moral code derive? How do you get your moral code? If you were to say from within myself exclusively, that might be not acceptable. If you were to say, however, you get your moral code from observing the behavior of nature and the universe and acting in accordance therein, that would count, because in that case, your supreme being would be nature. Richard Jones. Well, I mean, some people get their moral code from the Bible. Not everybody, and that's okay. I believe people find a moral code from many different places. But somebody above asked the question, if they said they don't believe in a supreme being, but they adhere to a strict moral code, could they be a Freemason? Again, the question would be, from whence does that moral code derive? But what I always say is never prejudge and never rely on this stream. What you want to do is, if you're interested, contact a Masonic lodge in your area and express your interest to them. There's also the liberal orders of Freemasonry, which do allow atheists to join, but they're primarily located in Europe. I don't know if there's any in North America. There probably are, just none I can think of. I mean, when you say not all Freemasons are evil, in my experience, well, I mean, I shouldn't say no Freemasons are evil. Freemasons are human beings, which means we have the capacity for both good and bad, evil and not evil. I do my best to make sure that at least I personally am acting in a way that's not evil. Whether I succeed or not, I guess we'll all find out at the end. We're all going to be judged at some point. But I try not to be too presumptuous about this. I don't want to get too ahead of myself, but I've never seen anything within Freemasonry that would indicate it is structurally evil, and that's really important to understand, right? There are individual actors. They can act however it is they can act, positively or negatively, for good or for evil, but there's also structures and organizational structures. And within Freemasonry, again, what I see is an organization that trends and pushes people toward the good, either in an individual or community basis. There's nothing wrong with going against the grain, Richard, but just make sure you're going against the grain for the right reason. I mean, for example, an example I would use is, if you're watching the news and the weatherman says it's going to rain, don't leave your house without an umbrella just to go against the grain. Not every time you go against the grain is helpful. Another great metaphor is, if you have 10 straight nails and one bent nail, the bent nail is going against the grain, but that doesn't mean it's useful. I'm sure I've gone to many lodges smelling quite interesting, especially if I go right from a workout without time to shower. Hello, Mirage. Thank you for being here. When Masons put their right hand, well, I mean, that sign, I'm not going to say whether that's a sign exclusive or that's a sign of Freemasonry or not, because I'm not going to, I don't talk about specific signs, whether they are Masonic or not, so whether that is Masonic or not. But I will say, putting one's hand over one's heart is a very common symbol in a ton of different groups and organizations. It's been, I mean, when I was growing up, way before I was a Freemason, you put your hand over your heart to swear something as being, the truth, or to take an obligation in court, for example. I mean, so I don't talk about specific signs and whether they're Masonic or not, but the hand over the heart, that's a very common sign that has existed in a ton of different settings. Well, I've never been to Connersville, Indiana, but I'd love to visit it. Well, but again, it's not, I mean, the hand over the heart, clearly you've never seen any kids or any, do the whole, swearing to tell the truth, or even adults, right? But when I was a kid, this was what we would do if we were, cross your heart, hope to die type of thing. It's very common. It's a very common symbol. Well, there's different, again, that's the other thing to keep in mind, right? There's different signs and symbols depending on the ritual you're performing and whether it's emulation or York. So you need to keep that in mind as well. But again, another perfect example that KY brought up. If you've ever seen anybody take the Pledge of Allegiance, they'll either salute if they're in the military or they'll put their hand over their heart. I've seen people do that at the national anthem at games, put their hand over their heart. Welcome back, Stomper. Well, your opinions don't have to change. That's a good point. Freemasons, we are not revilers of anyone's religious beliefs. We're not going to mock anyone's religion. And I try not to on this stream. If you find a religion, however it is you find it, whether it be through your family or culture or, on your own accord, or or you judge, you come with your own judgments and your own rationality to the conclusion. I'm not going to be a reviler of anyone's religious beliefs, nor should any Freemason. Okay, we're going to give this another, let's say, just 2 minutes. It's a shorter stream than usual, but thank you to everybody who's been here. Please don't forget. No, they know I do YouTube. Some support it, some don't. Some are upset with it, some aren't. What I find is younger guys tend to be a bit more supportive of it. The older guys, not as much. It just depends on the generation. Well, your son is incorrect. I don't know, Richard Wilkins. I don't know enough about every religion. I will say I've given this example before. I once had a Satanist contact me expressing an interest in joining Freemasonry. After speaking with him, going out for coffee with him, talking to him about what Freemasonry is, he decided he did not want to join because, in his opinion, Freemasonry was incompatible with his beliefs. So I've never met a satanic Freemason. So I would assume Satanism. He did, but he was also a very valuable scientist. So, Crystal, I'm definitely not going to diagnose anyone on stream with mental health issues. I don't think that's my place. What I will say is if you're concerned for his mental health, you should contact a doctor or have him contact a doctor or potentially even a crisis line. I know there are ways to potentially get somebody, force somebody to see a doctor, even if they don't want to. But I don't know in your specific jurisdiction or area what the rules are or how you'd even go about that. Well, Nathan, so again, I'm not Christian myself. I certainly believe he was a historical figure, an historical human. Whether he was also the Son of God, let's just say I keep an open mind. Well, I've been in the USA before. Anything's possible. He could have seen me. I've never been to Indiana, or I've actually have been to Indiana, but never that part, never the part you mentioned. I do not know what Zoroastrianism is, so I cannot help you with that. Yeah. All right, guys. Thank you so much. I'm going to be leaving the stream. I will be back on at 1 p.m. And then please keep in mind, January 21st, 24-hour live stream. It's going to be a long stream, but a lot of fun. I'll see y'all soon. Good night, KY.